You're listening to Cross Rhythms Plymouth 96.3 FM, and I've got the pleasure of being joined here in the studio by Kate Thorn, who works for Aggie's, a charity that for some of you listening will be known to you, Royal Naval charity, and this year is a big year for Aggie's, which we will get to. Kate, welcome to the studio. Great to have you here. Me. And tell us then a little bit about Aggie's overall. What is Aggie's? What do you do as a charity? And then a little bit about your involvement as well.
Okay, so we are Dame Agnes Weston's Royal Navy charity, or Aggie's for short, started 150 years ago by Agnes Weston, or Dame Agnes Weston as she became. And we're fairly well known in Plymouth because we used to run something called the Royal Sailors' Rest, which was in Devonport until the 1990s, I believe.
Right.
So we got many people that have stayed in the rest, and it was originally, the charity was set up by Aggie to look after and to befriend sailors who perhaps came off ship, may have had a lot of money in their hands, maybe no home to go to, and the only place they could really go to was perhaps somewhere where they could have a drink. Aggie was part of the temperance movement, so it was no alcohol, although it's not a specific thing of the charity today. I enjoy a glass of wine, but that's how it was started. So it was a safe place for people to go. She opened up her home and had people in, and that hospitality transfers through to what we do today. So it started as somewhere safe for people to go, for the sailors to go, to befriend. She used to write letters with them, give them a space to eat and feel safe and welcome. And we do very similar things today with the welcome that we extend and the support that we give to the Royal Navy now.
Amazing. And so that her involvement years ago, sort of, you might not know this, I'm putting you on the spot, but okay. Where did that come from for her? Like, why was she so passionate to get involved in the Navy? Was it family connections or husband, or what was her connection to it?
I do know this, and the reason I do is she's a complete inspiration. So it's funny that yesterday happened to be the 8th of March was International Women's Day. So for me, she's not a person that I knew about much until I started working for the charity, which is my own fault. I should have learned more about my local history. But she was a Christian lady, brought up in the Christian church. And when she reached the age where perhaps she should start towing the line as to what people thought she should be doing with her life. Right. She sort of took a moment to go and discover and research and work out what God wanted her to do. And it was very much a faith in action ministry. And she was different for the time. And she didn't like being told what to do. Right. It's a little bit like myself, which isn't good really. That's why it'd be terrible actually in the Navy. Right. I like to support them. But yeah, she basically and her heart was to go and find out what God wanted for her in her life, what her purpose was, why she was born, why she was here, and to go and make that difference. Wow. And what's amazing is that when you join the charity, on your induction, we are told, be her now. And that's amazing. So it's very simple. It's a very busy job. It's a great job, but it's a very simple thing, is that take what she did back then and do that now. That's
amazing. So she saw, in that kind of seeking for purpose for her life and what God wanted for her and what she felt, she obviously saw a need. She obviously saw there was a real need for these sailors to have that rest, to have that kind of place to recuperate. And interesting you say it about the temperance, because, there's a kind of assumption, isn't there? There's a kind of, I suppose, a sort of cliche that goes with sailors as to drink and be drunk. And when you rest, you just go and have a drink. And, going back many years, that's kind of the impression people have of sailors. But they're people, right? They need help. They need support. They need someone to listen to them and all of that. So I suppose that was, I guess, the sort of need that she saw and thought, well, hang on, maybe I can help here in that sense.
Yeah, the need, I think, was, as it is today, a sense of needing a community and a safe haven, which is why a lot of the places that we work alongside chaplaincy and within naval bases are called havens. Not all of them, but many of them. And she saw people coming, off ships, and there were very few places where they were welcome. Sure. And not all of them had families. Not all of them were literate. Where it comes from is a place and a space for people to meet, be safe, and be wanted. And she also took the time over the years to develop where people could what people could do with their finance as well. So she actually helped set up bank accounts for people so that money they were given would get to where it was needed and not just get spent within the first 100 metres of the dockyard.
Yeah. And I get, there you go, there comes the kind of temperance side of it again, because otherwise you're thinking you go into pubs for that community, you go to the drinking community for that community, you end up with maybe outcomes that aren't entirely wholesome and don't help you in your life long term.
Yes.
And those things are all too easy for any of us to get involved in. But to have that as a sailor coming off ship all those years ago and through the time since, off, whether you're a Marine coming from deployment, there's all kinds of stuff, I imagine, that you need to be able to unpack and then get back into the real world. And all of that transition as well must be huge
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah. People come, you say come home, so deployment is part of it, but separation is just as acute if somebody happens to be working alongside or on shore.
Yeah.
But even if you're an hour and a half from your family and you are staying within the dockyard or on a ship or on a submarine, you're still separated. And a lot of what Aggies does is to try and connect people. So one of the initiatives we have, a project that we have, which is long standing now, is called Storybook Waves. And it's an amazing project where people can, for no money at all, just record a story for their family, for their little ones. But we also do sort of like Mother's Day, etc. And they've got a range of books they can record. It takes about 20 minutes. No one's going to watch them like you are me today. No one's going to watch them while they're recording. And they can put a message on it, and then it gets edited by a team of trained volunteers, and sound effects put on. Then the family get a pack with a little medal and the copy of the book and other well-being things, and basically it's tailored to that family. So any kind of separation, this project will help with, as well as when people are obviously deployed and away. And like you say, when people come back, they can do that before they go. Yeah. But when they come back, there is that need for them to unpack stuff and just to readjust. Sure. And just become, living at home again or living on base again. Whatever that need is, we are there. We're there to listen.
Yeah, I mean, I used the phrase "the real world" then earlier, probably the wrong phrase to use, so apologies there. But it is that the transition, isn't it, from being on active deployment to then maybe being in more like logistics on a base to then being at home. Like, those are really different states of mind to be in. And so having a charity that's done that for years, and people who kind of get it, whether they've served before or whether they're kind of volunteering or whatever their role is in that, it must make a huge, huge difference. Well, we'll stop for some music and pick up the conversation with Kate after this. You're listening to Cross Rhythms Plymouth 96.3 FM and online and DAB. I always forget to say those bits. But we are here in Plymouth, and as you say, you can listen wherever you are online. But talking today with Kate Thorn from Aggies, from Naval charity that's been going for many, many years. Kate, your involvement then in the charity, you're a pastoral worker. How long have you been working with Aggies? And tell us, what does that role as a pastoral worker entail?
So I have done many jobs before this one. I've been a community worker, etc. But in May 2022 is when I started. So nearly 4 years. Seems like a lot longer in some ways because it's such an involved job. But also it's gone like a flash, and it is genuinely the best job I have ever had. It is an absolute privilege to go to work every day. Amazing. Not always easy, but just a brilliant job. My involvement as a pastoral worker, I happen to be part-time. We have part-time and full-time people all around the country, including in communities, working with families. It's not just the serving person. But my job day to day is within Devonport Dockyard. So I work alongside chaplaincy with my colleague, and we run events. So we do things in the evenings for people. We do things during the day. We try and bring communities together. We also go out and do what they call pop-up chaplaincy, where we go onto ships, etc., or out to different departments and teams, taking the Aggie's bacon butty, which is well known. Vegan is also available, which is very important. Nice. We have a local supplier, which is really, really good for us for that. And we just take our pastoral role out to people. But we also run the havens, which are like the lounge sort of well-being home from home spaces. So we are there to listen, we're there to signpost, so we work and network with a lot of charities, loads of charities, both locally and nationally, in order to get people the support they need. So it's not just come and speak to just Aggies. You might start with us, but we will try and get you a team of people around you, including obviously the chaplains, if that's what people are looking for. And we network within the naval base and the command to again, get people the support they need, and also to do their job, but do it in a way that makes makes them thrive, not just survive.
Yeah, love that. That's really, really cool to hear. And, certainly sounds like you've got your hands full. There's a lot there that you do. You mentioned earlier in the first part of the interview, the kind of Sailor's Rest, the history of that, being in Devonport, and obviously now the sort of haven spaces that you have, the kind of like continuation of that. That kind of links to the history, doesn't it? And the history within Plymouth. Looking on your website before this, am I right that the first of those rests was here in Devonport?
Yes.
So the history of Aggie's being 150 years this year. It's a big anniversary and huge for Plymouth as well, isn't it? It
really is, yeah. And I think, we had Plymouth 400, Mayflower 400 that got squashed, unfortunately, in many ways by a COVID, as many things did. But for me, the 150th anniversary of Aggie's is so much more than just the charity. I've lived here all my life. I'm very, very proud Plymouthian. I love the history, but I also love the legacy of what our naval history gives. There's a huge number of jobs that are provided, family members included, to keep those ships going and keep them being built, etc. And that one Devonport sort of piece that we have over in the dockyard includes that history and veterans, and the charities that we work with are often, we don't specifically support veterans, but we work with charities that do. And a lot of those people remember the Royal Sailors' Rest. It meant a lot to them, and I've had people tell me about that they were fed there when they had no money left and they had no food. Wow. That they started their married life in the Royal Sailors' Rest. And other ones around the country. There's always a story. I picked up my shopping from a local supermarket the other day, and the person who handed me my shopping said, they saw my logo and said, Aggie's. I stayed there. I was in the Navy for 22 years, and told me amazing stories.
No way.
There's always something that connects you back and draws you back to where that blue plaque now stands. The rest isn't there, but we are. Yeah.
So 150 years of Aggie's then. You're marking it in lots of different ways. What are some of the things that you're doing to sort of celebrate that as Aggie's, here in Plymouth, nationally, all that kind of stuff?
So we are a national charity, obviously started locally. So we have, I think it's about 41 pastoral workers, but that number fluctuates because we get people on board at different times, right from Faslane down to Cold Rose. And those events will be across the country. We're starting ours within the naval base on the 20th of May. Unfortunately, people outside the base can't come to this one, but that will be a big cream tea because we think that's a good way of kickstarting for local thing. And we do want to settle the debate whether it's jam or cream first. We are going to try and do that.
You're as close to the borderline as you can physically be and the Devonport Dockyard.
I was born in Plymouth, but my dad's Cornish, so I am totally impartial.
You can adjudicate.
Yes, I can adjudicate. So we're going to start with that, but we're doing other things as well. And we are the main focus of our fundraising for the year, and also focus for raising the profile of the charity and getting people to understand where we are and how they can access us, is in October this year, 2026, a team of, I think it's 18 people now, people from the charity, including my colleague at Devonport, Simon Reckless, and our chair of trustees, and some other people from the naval base, and volunteers and serving partners as well, are going to trek the Sahara over 3 days. Not the whole Sahara, that would be too much in 3 days, but they're doing an organised trek for 3 days, and we are looking for local people. We have our current butcher that supplies our bacon for the naval base, for what we do in the naval base. Alison's in Elberton. They've been really generous with a sponsorship, and we'd like to carry that flag with their name on through the Sahara. Well, not me. It's not me carrying it. With my colleague. I'm doing the fundraising. But yeah, anyone who wants to get involved, we have a Just Giving page for that.
Amazing. Well, we'll stop for some more music now, and I'll pick up the conversation in the final part with Kate to give some of those details out, to sort of talk how you can get involved in Aggie's and support in various ways. We'll talk more right after this. You're listening to Cross Rhythms Plymouth, final part of a conversation with Kate Thorn from Aggie's, naval charity known to many of you in the city, I'm sure. Started in and around Plymouth, and its roots go a long way back, 150 years this year. We've been talking a bit about that, and obviously you do a lot of work with serving naval people in the naval base and other places. One of the things you wanted to talk about as well, though, is out in the community with the kind of families and the people who aren't there on ships or at the base or on deployment, all that kind of stuff. Tell us a bit about that side of the work.
So the charity itself supports the Royal Navy, the Royal Marines, the Royal Fleet Auxiliary and their families. And that is really important, because 50% of the family that, you've got a serving person, which is one part, and we support those, but the other part supporting that person also is the family that they are separated from, like I said before, whatever way that is, whether they're working away or whether they're at sea and deployed or overseas. So supporting those family members is really key. So we have a Community Waves Plymouth team. They're on social media also, and they're also in Portsmouth, another team in Portsmouth. So we have a lovely couple called Letty and Mark Jones who do the Community Waves work here in Plymouth, and it happens to be Monday today that we're recording this, and they do something called Aggie's Mondays at Crownhill Community Centre. And I think the reason that this is important to talk about is that there's nothing worse than being in the playground or being in a in a shop or a bus queue and hearing someone say, oh, my so-and-so's away, or I feel this, or the kids are struggling because of this, or I just feel, or that person's coming back and they're going to throw everything up in the air again, and I've just got a routine. And as a person who, I'm not from a serving background, I haven't served, but I have had people, when I was a teacher, I've had people that I know that have struggled with that. And it's really nice to be able to signpost somebody to us. So you may not need us yourself, but knowing Aggie's is there and saying to somebody, have you thought about the community team with Aggie's? Have you heard about Aggie's toddler group on a Thursday at Crownhill Community Centre at 9:30, I believe? Have you gone and looked for these places? You can help somebody get help. I always say to the serving people, when we're giving out leaflets, you've got pockets for a reason. You may not need this leaflet or this information yourself, but when someone is struggling and you feel, what can I do? You can signpost them to someone that helps. And if we can't get them the help they need, if we can't provide something, it's the wrong day for them, whatever, we try and find somewhere they can.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool to hear that. And as you say, to hear the kind of other side of the whole dynamic, the person who serves in the Navy or Marines or anything of those other forces that you help, and the families as well. It's massive. One of the things I suppose as well is, Plymouth, I love living here, born and raised here, but it's quite a long way from other places. So if you're suddenly really posted down here, that sense of community and connection, like Aggie's can really help you as a family, I suppose, connect to the community, feel part of the community, and start to make roots and all of that kind of stuff, I imagine, is part of it as well. Yes,
very much so. So the Aggie's community work has changed over the last few years. Things are tried, and if people need it for a while and then the dynamic changes, people, our team respond really well, and we try and do the same in the naval base. But it's the nature of the charity. The needs are the same, but that desire for connection and putting down roots and making those communities are just as acute. So Aggie's Mondays, they do things all the way through evening, from right after school right up until sort of later on, and you can go and have a meal and an activity. The team are brilliant. I've got more energy. I thought I had energy till I met these guys. They're incredible, and they just give and give and give. They're just absolutely brilliant, and they put on so many different things, and they're involved in other community things, so they can always find something. And the best thing that comes out of these opportunities and events is when people start to meet up outside of them. So they make the community, they find their safe place, they find their tribe, they find somebody that can go shopping with them or watch their little one while they go and get their hair cut or something, when there aren't family members around to help, or when things just get tough, or when you need to be with people that really know what you're going through. Because I don't know. I don't know what they're going through. I'm not a service partner. I don't know that. But when you bring those people together, they can properly not just sympathise but empathise. Yeah,
it's interesting. That's kind of was going to lead on to my next point. I've interviewed people from various different charities over the years. I think of like cancer charities and cancer survivors. Them coming together for community stuff is perfect for that very reason, because they know what it's like to go through that more than just the average person that they bump into. They might have other friends and family that are great, but in your case with Aggies, you know, serving families know what serving families are going through better than just average families, as much as they'll have great friends who aren't serving families. That's the whole huge part of that community cohesion. So I suppose then, listening to this, for anyone who wants to get involved, that Sahara Trek that you mentioned in the last section is a big one, you know, whether it's businesses or individuals supporting that. I know that, and lots of other information, contact details and all that is on the website. So aggies.org.uk, that's correct, the best place to go, really, I suppose, for all of this stuff.
Yes, and if you've got any specific questions, then my email is kate.thorn, THORN, @aggies.org.uk, and I'm happy to field any questions or signpost you to the right place, etc.
Amazing. And I will point out as well, we mentioned this off air, but on air, Simon Reckless, who is doing the Sahara Trek. He's been on the radio. You might have heard him. If you listen to us, you might have checked out the podcast, Hope in the City. He's in one of those episodes talking about his experiences. He mentions a bit about his work with Aggies, talks particularly about kind of post-traumatic stress and some of the stuff that he's gone through having served. So he is the person you're talking about, who from Plymouth works with you and is doing that Sahara Trek. So there's a nice little connection there. So if you check out Hope in the City podcast, scroll through the episodes, and you'll find the episode that he's in there. Well, Kate, thank you so much. It's been really great to hear about the charity and hear about the anniversary, and we wish you all the best.